I'm Pastor Joe, and I want to welcome you to 2-Minute Tuesdays Together. If you saw last week's video, you'll remember that it was an introduction to the Reformation. So what I want to do for the next several weeks is talk about some of the key figures, sort of the fathers of the Reformation. You know, it's hard to talk about the Reformation without talking about Martin Luther. He really wasn't the first one on the scene to try to bring about reform. For centuries before the start of the Reformation as we know it, several folks raised issues about the corruption they saw within the church, but it never did really catch on and affect a whole lot of change. But that all turned with Martin Luther, who really thought what distinguished him from the others was he didn't just try to address corruption, but he tried to look at the theological issues behind it. And maybe that's where the difference is. So let's get 2 minutes on the clock, and I want to go over some key dates in Martin Luther's life. Martin Luther was born in November of 1483. But maybe the first key moment in his life was July of 1505. While riding his horse, returning back to the university, he was in a thunderstorm, and a lightning bolt struck quite near to him. In fact, it caused him to fear for his life. And out of fear, he cried out, "Help, St. Anna, I will become a monk." And that was a vow he felt he couldn't break. And so he left the university, he entered the St. Augustine's monastery. And then 2 years later, in 1507, he was ordained to the priesthood. He would become pastor and professor of theology at the University of Wittenberg, where he wrote 36 hymns and really influenced people in the faith. But another big moment, maybe what he's most remembered for, was on October 31st, 1517, when he nailed his 95 Theses to the door of the church there. And he wasn't seeking to break from the Catholic Church, he was seeking to bring about reform. And really nothing happened for a couple of years, or nothing major, but a dramatic change occurred in 1520 when Pope Leo X demanded that Martin Luther renounce all of his writings. And then in the Deed of Worms in 1521, he refused to do that. And so he was excommunicated from the church, and he was deemed an outlaw and had to flee for his life. But he continued to minister and influence people in the faith. And probably, I think, at least two main things theologically that he is remembered for is that Scripture alone is our source of authority. It's not located in the church, it's not located in the Pope, but it is Scripture. And then we are saved by faith alone and not by works. Well, Martin Luther passed away in February of 1546, but through his hymns and his writings, he continues to influence us and challenge us in our faith and our walk with Christ. Well, I hope that you have found this video informative and helpful. I hope that you will like it and share it with others. If you haven't, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And when you subscribe to my channel, if you'll click on the notification bell, then anytime I post a new video, you'll be notified.